Hey everybody, welcome to yet another bonus episode. I'm just going to start us off talking about cannibalism, shall I?
Good start.
Won't I? It turns out the Bible talks about cannibalism a lot. A lot more than you would expect. A lot more than I ever remembered, quite honestly. I didn't have any kind of recollection of the Bible mentioning cannibalism whatsoever. But yeah, so...
Well...
There's a little bit of debate.
Something they don't teach you in Sunday school.
Yeah, surprisingly so. There is a little bit.
That should be the name of this show. Stuff they don't teach you in Sunday school.
Something they don't teach you in Bible school and Sunday Bible school.
Yeah, that's like just for our bonus episodes. That's
I like that.
For our bonus episodes.
Yeah.
That's the title, like a mini series. Yeah. Okay. Well, something they don't teach you in Bible school, Sunday school,
yeah.
Bible Sunday school.
Whatever you want to call it.
Definitely cannibalism. Yeah, so there's some debate over these verses where basically the debate is, was this just a curse and just a scare tactic to make sure that the Israelites stay in line, or was this referencing something that actually happened back then? Like, would there...
Well, was it?
Well, there's debate, right? You know, there are some people who think that, yeah, it is quite possible that a famine or a siege could have been so bad that someone resorted to cannibalism or to like eating their own children or something really terrible like that. I'm sure it's happened. It's not a pleasant thing to think about. Other people, I guess a slightly less horrifying interpretation is some people think that it refers to wealthier families that would maybe just marry off all their kids for the sake of just getting the money for it, like marrying off their daughters just for the sake of getting a bride price or something like that. And so that was kind of the quote unquote like cannibalizing or eating of their children, essentially kind of selling them off into slavery or things like that.
In a metaphorical sense.
In a metaphorical sense.
Metaphorical cannibalism, okay.
Sure, or or it could be real cannibalism. We don't know.
Weird.
Now, this line of research did lead me to a blog from 2012 where it sounds like this evangelical pastor made this blog called The Whole Dang Thing, where he was going to blog reading the whole dang thing, the whole dang Bible, just like we are.
Okay.
So I got kind of excited. I was like, oh, I wonder how he did. And it's interesting. His blog on specifically this chapter, he calls it the scariest chapter in the Bible.
Oh, wow.
And mentions that it's a ratio of 14 pleasant verses to 54 unpleasant verses.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Yep.
That's just his estimation based on the books of the Bible that he did read, because he only made it to 1 Samuel.
What?
I did check. The blog ended in 2013. He made it to 1 Samuel. I checked out his Twitter.
He didn't even read it to Revelations or anything.
Well,
that would be the whole thing, yeah.
According to his Twitter,
he didn't even get there.
According to his Twitter, he is now #exvangelical. So,
Join the club. We should have him on.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Probably should actually. Probably wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So I wonder if there's something in 1 Samuel that's gonna make us go off this whole project or what. But
oh gosh.
But yeah.
Nah.
We'll get past
I think we're in it for the long haul. Yeah.
No, we're gonna do it. You know what? Because there's 3 of us, and when 3 or more are gathered to read the Bible, they do it.
It's true. This would be a hard undertaking just by yourself.
I agree.
And just blogging it by yourself.
Reading it and trying to be funny and drinking.
I don't think he was trying to be funny.
And then being like, yeah, was that funny?
No, he wasn't even trying to be funny. He was just trying to, he was really trying to analyze and get through it, and understand. And
it's not as fun at all.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought too. So.
All right. Well, I have a slightly less interesting or tasty thing to talk about. I don't know. No.
Less tasty. Okay.
What do you got
that's less tasty than cannibalism?
So what is it? Admah and Zeboim. So, okay, I thought that they were people, but according to the Bible, Admah was one of the 5 cities of the Vale of Siddim. It was destroyed along with Sodom and Gomorrah. And Zeboim was one of the 5 cities of the plain. Cool.
And they were all destroyed with them, with Sodom and Gomorrah?
So they were part of Sodom and Gomorrah.
I guess they were around there.
Wow.
The town is mentioned figuratively in the Bible in Deuteronomy and the book of Hosea, the book of Hosea, so figuratively.
So that's the first time that we've really heard of them.
Yeah.
I know, I agree. Sodom and Gomorrah are 2 of the 5 cities of the plain. Zeboim is 1 of the 5 cities of the plain. And Zorah is 1 of the 5 cities of the plain. So that's it. Yeah.
So
It was destroyed along with Sodom and Gomorrah. So it says that we don't know where the location is in real life.
I
Cool.
see. It's weird though, because the way it was mentioned in this sounds like this is a whole other incident that happened, but instead it's like, no, they all got destroyed at the same time. So that's kind of that's weird, huh?
Yeah,
Really
I know.
fascinating.
And I guess we did.
I'm not entirely certain.
We did theorize that might have been like a volcano or something, right? With the brimstone from the sky. So I guess it would make sense that a lot of cities could have been affected by that.
That's true.
Definitely.
And I mean, we're talking like what? Like townships, suburbs around the main Sodom and Gomorrah? Who knows?
Maybe, yeah. I guess
I'm not sure.
we don't really have a sense for how big these cities were at the time, huh?
No, indeed. And I do have stuff on the secret things
Oh, what are the
that we
secret
talked
things?
about right at
What
the end.
kind of secret thing?
But I can't
Well,
tell
okay.
you because
So, yeah, those secret things at the end of Deuteronomy 29, what did we say? The secret things belong to Yahweh our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So that I was able to, like, through my reading, figure out what the hell that meant a little bit more. But basically, so, okay, this does talk about the book of Job here.
Oh.
This is the fundamental message of the book of Job in the Babylonian poem Ludel Bel Nemchi, both of which depict protagonists suffering without knowledge of the deity's reasons for it. That's interesting.
okay.
Yeah. There were more to divine secrets than the gods' prerogatives and knowledge of the future. Comprehensive understanding of the created order was also considered the exclusive possession of the divinity. This is why the series of questions about creation in Job 38 to 39 so effectively put Job in his place. At the time, humans could not possibly have known the answers to such questions. Only gods could. So, apparently, what was once a divine secret could be revealed, which will happen eventually, but a dream could convey what was previously known only to a god, which happened in Genesis and will happen in Dan. Prophets entered Yahweh's secret council and then proclaimed what they heard people see. And then sometimes Yahweh appeared in person, they're shrouded, to speak directly to people in an audible voice, which happened, I guess, in Deuteronomy 5:22, Job 38:1, and Job 46. In the late biblical and Second Temple traditions, a few humans were even granted a tour of the heavens where they learned cosmological secrets. So, though the biblical deity has secrets, he seems to have prided himself in the open access revelation, whereas Babylonian scribal elites guarded divine knowledge after its revelation as their exclusive possession, their secrets of the gods. There we are.
Wow.
Fascinating.
So just hanging on to these very special divine secrets.
Yeah,
Wow.
guess so.
This is not what I looked up, but that just reminded me of this YouTube channel that I came across last week called Digital Hammurabi, which is also just a cute name.
Oh, like the Hammurabi's code.
yeah.
Code of Hammurabi.
Most
rather.
of the channel is about understanding like cuneiform and ancient writing systems and language and stuff like that, but they do have a little bit of a few episodes that are like cutely animated and stuff that are talking about the Bible and comparing it to other historical texts. And there's one where they were talking about how a lot of people will accuse the Bible of plagiarism when it comes to stories like Noah's Ark, where you can find Canaanite or Hindu stories that are basically almost exactly the same, in places even word for word, with like sending out the dove and then like the other kind of bird, or whatever it is, like very much the same. And basically that in this, she's making the case that it's not plagiarism, but it's more like, not quite like parody, but like a commentary. And so she points out how it's like the story might be the same, but like the ending and the morals that come out of it are different. So I'm curious about that thing with like Job and the other story. You said it was Sumerian or Canaanite, or where was it from? Whatever it
Let's
was,
see.
that other story. I wonder if there's a similar thing.
It was Babylonian.
Okay.
Babylonian poem, Luld Bel Nemchi Nimiqui.
That one,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Nemequi.
Nimiki.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like in this example here with Noah's Ark, that in I think it was Canaanite, but in the Canaanite story, basically it goes that one of the gods, because there are several, one of the gods is like, I think humans suck. I'm going to do this flood, kill them all. And this other mischievous god is like, I'm going to go tell one of them to save his family and build this ark. And that then after the flood is done is when they kind of get cursed with the like, land isn't going to be as responsive to you, and like the stuff that we get in the Adam and Eve story of like, life's going to be hard for you now, which is a very different sort of message and conclusion from the biblical story, which is that God both does the destroying but also the saving, and then at the end gives the like promise of, I'm not going to do that again. So it's kind of like this idea of, we took that mythology and this story of this thing that people believe happened and maybe did something like it did happen, but we're going to put a different meaning to it. And so it's
interesting.
So it's intertextuality and not plagiarism. Anyway, sorry for that tangent, but the Job thing reminded me of that. I wonder if there's a similar thing where it's like key details might be a little different.
Well, I think that they were saying that like there are multiple like texts out there which depict protagonists suffering without the knowledge of the deity's reason for it.
Right, I see. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the same story happening multiple times, but just that there are multiple stories where there are suffering protagonists who have no idea where they're suffering.
Right.
What a theme. What a recurring
To me,
theme.
I'm like, I don't know, God didn't really know either. It was just like having fun with his plaything Job. That's what it felt like to me, but maybe I'm wrong here.
Well, if you think about an ancient people, it makes sense that, like I said, if you were brought up with this belief that like good things happen to good people, and then as soon as you see that not happening, it's like, wait a minute, I don't understand. And so you're going to write stories and you're going to philosophize about it.
Be like, we don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Jeez.
Yeah.
So the thing I looked up for this one actually comes from a tweet that we got. That was addressed specifically to me, saying that when I say the word Yahweh, that I will often put a Yahweh. I'll put a little aspiration on the H. And they were saying, I don't like, do you do that for a reason? Because as far as I know, the word Yahweh in Hebrew doesn't have a volular, doesn't have a ch sound on that. And I was like, I'm sure you're right. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you don't tend to pronounce it with a Yahweh. You just kind of aspirate a little bit.
Right.
He aspirates, but he also has like a glottal stop there. well, not quite.
Not a glottal stop, but
Wait, not really, but no, it's like a
apparently I choke every time I say it. No, so I was like, you know what? I'm sure you're right, but now I'm curious about it. So I went down a rabbit hole of kind of researching that, being like, how is this pronounced? What's the deal? And I found and actually a really cool YouTube video from a guy named Jeff Benner, who's a Hebrew scholar, and does this whole thing breaking down like the grammatical rules for how names are pronounced, but also essentially at the end of the thing comes away with this idea that unfortunately, until we discover Moses's lost tape recorder, we will never know.
Still on the hunt for that one.
Yeah, still looking. We'll never know exactly the rules of how they pronounce things at that time, but based on how Hebrew has evolved through the ages and what historical evidence we do know, we can sort of surmise things and probably eliminate some certain options and things like that. And from this video, I learned a lot of interesting things. One is that we should have picked up on this so far in the Bible, but all names in Hebrew are words. Like there are no names that are just a name. All of them are nouns or verbs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Or sometimes a combination of them. So, for example, the name, who was it? Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Jacob and Esau. Yeah. That Yaakov, or whatever his name is, Yaakov, is actually a verb and a noun, which is to grasp the heel, which we remember that was the story of him being born. He was grasping after Esau's heel, and so he was named Jacob. And we're like, what? But that's because it literally just means to grasp the heel, right?
Okay.
So one thing it helps us know is that Yahweh is a word, right? It has to be a word that exists in Hebrew, and the word is Hui, which means to exist. And then the letter Yod at the beginning of it means that it's he. So it's he exists, he is. So that's the whole like I am.
It's like the I am that I am.
I am that I am. It's that his name is he is, that he exists.
I am, he is. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So anyway, that I just thought was interesting. But then also so in Hebrew, there's 4 letters in the word Yahweh, which is Yud, He, Wah, He are the 4 letters. So Yud is the Y is how we write it in English letters. He is the H, Wah is the W, and H, and then He is the other H, right? So Yod, He, Wah, He. So like Hebrew scholars will call it Yud, He, Wah, He, I think is how you pronounce it. But basically the Yud and the Wah, kind of like in English with Y's and W's, can either be consonants or vowels, depending on how they're used. Like a W at the end of like bow is a vowel sound, but at the beginning of like wow, it's a consonant sound. Or a Y, in yes is different from a hey or something like that. So, but because of the way that they're positioned here, neither of them can be vowels. They have to be the beginnings of syllables. So we know that it has to be a y at the beginning, and we know that there has to be a w later on, that it can't be a hu. So the Yahuwah being a potential pronunciation for Yahweh is no good. That one's no good, according to these grammar rules. However, it can either be 2 syllables, one that begins with y and ends with h, and then the second one begins with w and ends with h.
W.
Or it can be 2 syllables that's y, h, and then the w at the end. So it could either be like Yehovah, or it could be Yahweh or Yiwa, or various things, because we don't know what the vowels are that go with it. So there's a bunch of different potential pronunciations, but in the ones where the H does end the first syllable, there is kind of a little bit of an H sound, not a ch. So if you ever do that, that's no good. That's wrong, because that's a different sound in the Hebrew alphabet. But there's maybe potentially a little bit of a, so maybe I wasn't as wrong as I thought I was.
Yeah.
By pronouncing that H.
Right.
Yeah, but it was interesting though to learn that basically like that it could be Yahweh or Yahweh or Yehovah or Yehovah, which is where Jehovah comes from. Jehovah is an option, but there's like a bunch of different ways that it could be pronounced.
Jehovah starts with an I.
Yes. Or a Yud in this case.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. So anyway, if we want to start calling it Yud He Wah He to be extra, intellectual about it, we could do that.
Extra, basically.
Super extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got about Yahweh. I went down this spent a while researching that after that tweet, because I was just like, now I want to know.
You just couldn't go
Love
to
it.
sleep. Just couldn't let it
Love
go.
it.
I know. I also started like a course on learning the whole Hebrew alphabet. I don't.
Why would you do
Of course
that?
you did, but why would you do that?
I'm not.
Why
I don't,
would you do that?
Don't you have other things to do?
Dude, that was the problem I ran into. Is I just had other things to do, and I'm just like, I don't have time to memorize all these letters.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn the 2,000 kanji characters that are used in Japanese the most. So
Yeah, exactly.
don't have time for 40 more letters.
Well, that was a fun time. We learned a lot this week. Again, not quite sure what's going to happen next week, but we only have really this time 2 more episodes for Deuteronomy, which is, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've been in a different book. So I'm looking forward to finishing this up, and, we'll have more to come by the end of the year. More episodes, more fun times. So we will see you all next week.